afternoon, everyone. What a pleasure to be here and to be with you this afternoon. And we're excited to present this new webinar for you. It's called Management OSHA Energy Control Lockout Tagout Program. My name is Javier Hernandez, and we are joined by our wonderful Sam Crawley. Say hello, Sam.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. This will be a fun time.
It is. It's going to be awesome. Happy New Year to everyone, and I hope that this webinar is going to give you insight. It's going to give you new information that you may not have, and we just want to make sure that it really is fulfilling to your knowledge, and that way you could take it back to your organization to just make it a lot better. This is what our goal is today. Next slide. So today we will cover the following topics: is when lockout tagout is required, the contents of the program, and what needs to be done to implement the program. Next slide. So what is required? Lockout tagout is required when a tool, piece of equipment, or machine uses hazardous energy in its process. So what is hazardous energy? It is defined as energy that could harm an individual. And this could be very important for not being able to process it. Next slide.
This could be a very wide array of things, couldn't it, Javier?
It could be a whole array of things. So energy sources. So here, energy sources could include electricity, could be mechanical, could be hydraulic, pneumatic, which is air, chemical, or thermal. So any of these machines that uses this kind of systems, it could actually be very dangerous. Next slide. So the program topics that you should have, usually in the programs that you were looking at, should include the cleaning and servicing and adjusting operations, repair work and setting operations, materials and hardware, repetitive process in the machines, hazardous energy control procedures, release from lockout tagout, group lockout tagout, shift of personal changes, periodic inspections, and outside personnel. And the last one, of course, which is very important, training. Training. Sam.
So there's a lot in this program. There's a lot of things to it. Even though it is quite simple, there's a lot of things that you got to work with. Going over these topics one by one is going to make this a lot easier for everybody.
So we're going to break it down. We're going to make it very simple for you. And then, boy, by the end, you're going to find out everything about it. Next slide, please. All right. So lockout tagout procedures. So here, this is very important, the lockout tagout procedures. We need to have some point of reference. And, you know, with everything with OSHA, everything has to be in writing. We want to make sure we document everything. So here, the identification of the machines, the tools, or the equipment has to be listed. Also,
so if I could just cut in here, Javier, at the top of the form over here, when he's talking about identifying tools, pieces of equipment, and machines that use hazardous energy, in the form that you see on the right here, you're going to see machine name and machine location. In the form, you're required to put in the name of the machine and the location of the machine. The machine name should have some sort of special identifier. Machine number 2 or a serial number. This will make it specific to that machine, which is the requirement. And then, of course, the location, south wall or line 2, machine 4, whatever identifiers you use for machine location. That's the part of the form that he's referring to right there in identifying tools and machines.
Because if you can't identify the tools, then there could be a confusion. There could be many various tools, right, within a shop. So some could be similar. Couldn't that be the case?
Absolutely.
So even though there could be multiple machines that look the same, but there are variances of exactly which tool we're talking about. That's right. Why this is important. Got it. Also, the important part of this forum is that we are needing to get the signatures and the names of the authorized personnel. Now, why would this be so important?
So the reason that you need to have this is it proves training. It proves that you've trained your employees on the LockoutTagout procedures, and that's really why it's so important. It proves the training.
Now, also that kind of shows also the hierarchy of the personnel who are authorized, and differs it from other people that may want to do it, but they really are not trained. So
Uh,
here, this is taking responsibility, correct? I'm
Absolutely.
responsible. I know what I'm doing, and here you go. I know what I'm going to be doing. So I have the knowledge and the expertise to make sure that I can work on this particular machine and capturing that energy source and doing it that right way. So the next one, the procedures itself. Now the procedures, if I know already what I'm doing, why do I need to write procedures down?
So it's important that the procedures be written out so that there's no mistakes, that nobody can assume or make a mistake and skip a step. And this goes to the employee that just started for the company to the employee that's been there for 20 years. And the person that's been there 20 years is just as likely to skip a step or forget a step, or think that he's better and skip a step on purpose than, say, a guy who's new. The new guy usually wants to do everything by the book, especially if they're trained well. But it's very important to have these specific procedures written out. And it's also code. Um, these procedures should be written out in such a easy to follow format that somebody who just a brand new employee could come in and do this with ease, just following instructions from the LockoutTagout procedures.
So there's nothing like a systematic point of reference to be exact to say, because I think, human nature, no matter how good we are, could we make a mistake in forgetting one step, right? And by forgetting that step, actually, it could be a big problem. And I'm agree with you, Sam. This is very important. Also, what should be included in these procedures is you should write anything that could be other than just more likely electricity. We're talking about like blocking a certain part of the machine or parts of the machine that could be maybe mechanical, right? Or it could be pneumatic, or under the maybe it'd be multiple energy sources. So they have to be listed down as well, because most people think it's just electrical, and that could be a problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. For example, block out, even like if you're working on a forklift and you have to raise the forks, there's got to be some way to block out the forks so that they can't fall. Like say if the hydraulic pressure gets released, that would be a block out example. But one of the things that most companies assume, and this is why we're doing this webinar, is that it's okay to just have a generalized LockoutTagout procedure. And we go to lots of places that have this, that do this. Yeah, I have LockoutTagout procedures. They're generalized and they work for any machine. That's not compliant, and you'll get taken to the bank for that if you get caught with procedures like that. They have to be specific. So this form will make it easier for you.
As a manager, if we do not complete these forms and we do just have a program and not complete those forms, what kind of consequences could we get and could go come into play by not having this form filled out? We have the program, but these are not filled out. What could happen?
Well, you could be cited for it. That's number one. Number two, you could have injuries because they're not specific. They're just generalized. And when they're generalized, you're not going to get all of the all the small things and all the specific things that might be different on each machine if you're using just a generalized LockoutTagout procedure. So you've got to have something specific so that you can ensure that the employees are safe and they go home with all their fingers and body parts, and you don't get fined into oblivion by Cal OSHA.
Yeah. So Cal OSHA is definitely looking at not only, oh, you have a program, but we got to be specific on everything that they're looking for. And this is something that they're looking for.
Right, but that would be even OSHA would come in and fine you into oblivion for not having specific procedures like this.
Right, correct. Fantastic. Wonderful things that we're learning today. All right, next slide. All right, so LockoutTagout Hardware. So not a lot of people may think that there's certain just a certain system for everything, but that's not the case. So we need to make sure that in our companies that we're making sure that all the locks are correct for the application for our machines. So if we got a lockout tagout process that we're going to be putting in there, we have to make sure that they are actually applicable. And we want to make sure that we have these items for our whole operation, and that we're also wanting to make sure that they're in good working order. Sam, in your inspections, have you seen sometimes that there may be some lockout tagout stations, and what's usually what we see is wrong with these things?
So a lot of times when you go out and you're looking at lockout tagout stations, sometimes you'll go there and you'll find just master locks and they all have the same keys. Um, that's a bad deal. You can't have locks that all have the same key.
We're in
They
trouble.
they all have to be individual. Um, so it's important. The reason why you want to make sure they all have individual keys is to make sure that people can't take off each other's locks. That's a big part of it. Another thing that we see all the time is zip ties. Zip ties are not good lockout tagout equipment. They're not compliant. If you use zip ties, you could be fined for that. And they're easy to remove and replace. Someone could remove it and replace it and you'd never know. That's probably one of the reasons why it's not a good idea to use them.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. Sometimes when my inspections, what I've done is I usually go there, and when I start looking and hey, the lockout tagout station, man, there's everything's missing. There's only a couple there just hanging, and there's no consistency of what's there, right? And then as I start walking through the shop, and I start looking at, oh, there's on the floor, maybe, oh, so why is the zip tie there, like you just mentioned? Well, we ran out of tags. I couldn't find them. So, this is a problem. One of the things what we should do is make sure that we're very careful, we're maintaining, and we're doing management control with our product when it comes to lockout tagout hardware. So we want to make sure they're in good working order. We want to make sure that they're all available and they're there. And they should be all in one place. Remember, organization and being clean with this is very important. So when you have it all in one place, they're easy to get instead of having, oh boy, I don't know where it is. And more than likely, if something's missing, shortcuts start coming into play. Well, I
one
don't
of
have time
those
to go buy it, right, Sam?
Yeah,
And
and one of those shortcuts that you see is, and it's always a shortage of tags. So you either see no tags or you start to see tags that are really old and they've got lots of writing on them that hasn't been able to be taken off, and you don't understand whose tag it is, what reason it's on there, when it was put on. You don't know anything about it. So having good tags and having good equipment, it's important.
I had one experience where they just put a tape and they put me.
I like that. Me. Right.
Me, what a wonderful identification.
That's a
Um,
one-man shop if I ever heard of one.
so yeah, that was not working. But definitely, we as managers, we want to be vigilant and we want to be careful. Wonderful topic. Great. All right, next slide. All right, authorized and affected employees. So designated authorized employees who will perform the actual locking and tagging of the tools and machines of pieces are called authorized, right? They're the ones who are signing that form we just talked about, right? So what is affected employee, Sam?
Affected employees is everybody else. Everybody who's not authorized to perform the lockout tagout. That could be anybody who is not a maintenance person or who is not a machine operator. The people that are working around it. Maybe they're just a helper with the machine. Maybe they don't work on the machine at all, but they work in the vicinity. Those people are all affected employees.
Sometimes some organizations will only concentrate on the authorized individuals of knowing the lockout tagout, but the affected employees are kind of left to the side, and they're really, well, they're not involved with this, so we don't need to give them information. So this could be a problem because affected employees also work around it, right? They work
Right.
around the area, they're in the system. Maybe they're not authorized to do the lockout tagout, but they got something to do within that shop, within the area where the equipment is in. So one of the things that you should not kind of put aside is actually the communication part of it. So here, authorized individuals or management should be very specific and also communicating the intent of what the authorized individuals are going to be doing. So then that way everybody knows what's going to happen with the lockout tagout program at that moment. And I think if you do that as managers, you're going to have a better system of communication. Everybody's going to be alert. Everybody's going to know what they're going to be doing. So then there's no surprises, and then definitely injuries or incidents going to go down.
Yeah, it's really important that everybody at the company be trained on lockout tagout, and this is where the affected employees come in. They have to know what the looks look like, what the tags look like, and what should be written on them, so that they understand what it looks like when they see it. That's important.
Affected employees without the knowledge could actually uh, rig or jig the system, not understanding what's going on, and they could take or try to forcefully remove something because some of those locks are they're not really super heavy duty. So hey, what's this plastic? Wait a minute, I got to get that machine and production going, and there's no communication, not knowing that what it is. So without that knowledge, we could have a big problem.
You could, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, great. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so training, we were talking about training. So training both authorized and affected employees on their responsibilities is crucial. Everyone has a responsibility. We all have to be able to do that. So what would an authorized individual in this company who's going to do the lockout tagout, Sam, what is their responsibility with the affected employee?
So when it comes to the affected, like we said before, we want to make sure that the affected employee understands what the lockout tagout process is and how it affects them in their work environment. And that could be different depending on the work environment, but you really want to make sure that they understand what the lockout tagout program is and what it looks like and how it will affect their daily tasks, the
So,
jobs.
so here, for example, an authorized individual should not only go and start implementing the system. Okay, here I'm authorized. I'm going to start implementing. So here, actually one of the major responsibilities that they need to communicate to the affected employees, right?
Um,
Of their
yeah, when
intent.
you're
Of
talking,
their
right,
intent.
yes, when you're talking about that, yeah, authorized employees, whenever and you'll find this in your lockout tagout protocol, whenever they're about to lock out a machine, they need to inform the affected employees. That will be part of the lockout tagout program.
So they need to discuss the procedures of what they're going to be doing in that time period, or maybe multiple time periods. Maybe it's one shift and it's going to go over to a second shift. So they need to make sure that they discuss their plan with people that's within that system, right? And
Right.
the responsibilities of the affected individuals, now their responsibilities would be what? To pay attention,
To pay attention,
to
and it would
follow the procedures.
Yeah, and it would look like this, and an authorized employee would have a problem with the machine, or a maintenance guy was going to bring it down to do some cleaning or servicing, and he would announce to everybody in the vicinity, hey, this machine's going down, and I need to do some cleaning, so it's going to be locked out and tagged out. It won't be able to be used for such and such a time, and
Awesome.
that's what it would look like.
So when everybody knows their responsibilities and everybody knows their function within the program of lockout tagout, and that communication is going back and forth and everybody understands it, oh man, this is becoming a beautiful place to work with when it comes to these energy sources,
And safer.
and safer. Next slide. All right. So We know that the government, OSHA, they all want to have what? Proof of everything. They
Proof of
want to make
everything.
sure that we're capturing this proof, and then if they would need to ask for it, or there's an incident that comes up into play, that we have the information ready for them. So we need to make sure that, and we're doing a training, and we're going to be doing all these kind of things and communicating to our employees on the process of the program. We need to what? Capture signatures, dates, the names of the individuals, and we want to make sure that everything is in play. Now, Sam, in your experience, what could happen with in a company or any type of management or group that does not have these records in play, and there's an incident?
So if you don't have these records of play and there's an incident, the fines can be greatly increased because it appears like uh, you don't care, and they're going to have to make you want to care through fines. But if you're doing everything that you're supposed to, and you're doing all of your training, and you're doing all of your paperwork and keeping everything together, this really does help in reducing the amount of fines and things that OSHA and Cal OSHA can cite you for if you have a problem. It will greatly reduce the number. Of course, it really depends on what's going on, but having all of your records and trainings generally does reduce the number by a lot.
So, as managers, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very important step. I can't express how important this is. Your good intentions are going to be worthless when it comes to the nitty gritty and being able to talk to these people. You're going to need to make sure that you've done it, but here it is. And you want to be specific and systematic within a period of time. That means that the whole year you're going to be doing this, you want to be accurate, you want to be consistent, and you want to make sure that you're keeping these records and they should be available and ready to go. So then that way you could tell them, yes, my intention was this, and I got the proof. This is how much I care. So
Yeah.
this is wonderful. So definitely training records are important. And of course, like the forms that we talked about previously. Next slide. All right. So periodic inspection. So periodic inspections of all LockoutTagout procedures should be conducted at least annually. Now, why is this important? Why annually or at a minimum? But what could happen during that time?
So we see this on inspections all the time. Let's say somebody bypasses an interlock, or a guard stops working, or some part of the machine stops working and it gets bypassed, and the lockout tagout protocol is um, no longer works because these guards or interlocks no longer work at all. Um, so you've got to make sure that you're doing inspections to ensure that your procedures actually work the way they should and with the way the machine actually is in the state that it is.
Sometimes what happens is also, I mean, there's nothing constant. If you have a year that is constant, that would be incredible. Look what happened in 2020. Now, we never thought all the things that were going to happen, right? In a shop, I'm sure it's the same way. So some of the things that you want to be careful with, you could be adding a machine. Maybe you're eliminating a machine. Maybe there's a process that you're adding to your system or your process within your shop. So everything can never be stagnant. So here, by doing it annually, like Sam said, it's going to assure that you're going to be definitely on top of things, and this is definitely going to work. Now it's got to be certified. Now, when it talks about an inspection must be certified, what are they talking about that, Sam?
You've got to have signatures, and you've got to have people that actually come out, look at it, and ensure and double and triple check to make sure that it's done correctly. And we do have a form to help you with this.
Great. So let's go to the next slide. All right. And this is the form, right?
This is the form. There's several people that should be included in the inspection, and you can see that there's signatures down at the bottom, and plenty of places for any comments, or if you find any deficiencies, or if you need to change anything, or any comments or anything like that. So this is something that you can use to help certify those results.
So this should be filled out. It should be done by a competent individual, a person that has the knowledge of the system and the program, and it should be done accurately, and it should be done consistently throughout a period of time. So this will help you keep everything on track, right, Sam?
Right. So when Cal OSHA or OSHA comes in and says, do you do annual inspections of your LockoutTagout program? This is what you could use to prove that you do. And this will save you money compared to if you don't have them. They can cite you, and often do.
They do. Boy, do they do. All right, fantastic. Next slide. All right. So all outside personnel must follow your company's lockout-tagout procedures. What are they talking about outside? Outside from where?
So what they're talking about here are, let's say, subcontractors, or you hire somebody to come in to work at your shop. Maybe you own a machine that the company comes in and only works on. The problem with this is a lot of people say, well, it's not my problem because I hire somebody from the outside to come in and do it. They could consider this a multiple employer work site, where they just cite both people if there's an accident for something like this. But you've got to make sure that if somebody's at your facility and they're doing work, they're doing it safely, and they're following some sort of lockout-tagout procedures. Because if there's an accident, where's OSHA or Cal OSHA going to come? They're going to come to your facility.
That's
and
right.
where are they going to do their inspection? They're going to do their inspection at your facility, and they're going to ask you questions as much as they're going to ask them their questions. So don't open yourself up to any problems, and just make sure that anyone that comes into your shop is working safely and is following lockout-tagout procedures.
It is amazing to me when I've done many inspections where I've seen actually we go through an inspection process, and here I see individuals doing some crazy stuff. And I go, what is going on there? And he goes, oh, that's just a subcontractor. He's not working, he has nothing to do with us.
It happens all the time.
That's a very common statement, right, Sam? And
all the time.
It breaks my heart because, man, something happens, you are responsible as well. So as managers, it's your site, man, be careful. All right,
Absolutely.
fantastic. Next slide, please. All right. So in conclusion, I hope that we brought a little bit of light to you within this wonderful topic. And I'm sure a lot of you have actually had questions, and you're going to do it right after this. You're more than welcome to go ahead and ask us anything you like. But you learned about that all businesses are required to have a lockout-tagout program in place. It has to be in writing, right? The program must cover topics such as energy control procedures, releasing of lockout-tagout group or lockout-tagout on, and so on. So we need to make sure that you know that. You must write specific procedures for each tool, machine, and specific equipment that uses hazardous energy. So remember that if you have multiple machines, there could be a difference or a nuance. One goes to one breaker, the other one goes to a disconnect switch. That just changes the whole thing. So even though they may look alike, you got to write it for every single machine. Also, you have to make sure that authorized and affected employees must receive training, and they need to know their responsibilities as to how this whole lockout-tagout program works and how they work within the system. And remember, periodic inspections go a long way, and they have to be done by a person that is competent, knowledgeable, and understands the system, and that is really looking out to making sure that everything is correct and everybody's protected. So the lockout-tagout program is nothing, means nothing, if you do not put these things in effect. So it's not just to have it something in writing. You got to make sure you're working it. You understand your role as a manager, and making sure that you as a manager are making sure that if you delegate this, these things are being actually completed. So this is a wonderful thing. Sam, thank you so much. You're awesome. Your knowledge is incredible. I love Sam because he's an incredible human being, works very well. And the information that you bring is awesome. So here, I'm going to go ahead. Do we have any questions?
We do have some questions coming in from the people. Someone wants to know about the maintenance form you guys were talking about. Do they fill that form out every time maintenance is performed on a machine, and who keeps those files?
Sam, go ahead. You answer that one.
So there is I believe that there is a maintenance form in the LockoutTagout program. It's not something that's required to be filled out every single time, but it's there for people who, if they want to use something like that, to just ensure that people are following the correct protocols. But they are required to follow the LockoutTagout procedures, and you are required to have LockoutTagout procedures for each process, or more, depending on what you're doing, each process that you're doing. Maybe the machine needs to be locked out differently for different things. You'll need to have a LockoutTagout procedure for each one.
That is correct.
Next question, talking about procedures, who usually generates those procedures to make sure that all the safety items are captured?
So there's only a few people who can actually write those procedures, and it's usually the people that know how the machine works. So you're gonna usually rely on your maintenance guys or your operators in conjunction with operations management. You've got to have management involved in this process to ensure that you have correct procedures. But somebody in management just all by himself would probably have a hard time writing all the procedures that you need. You really need the input from some competent people on that machine. Those are the ones that you really need. Javier?
Yeah, also, I just like to make sure that you also, on top of that, is that you're actually looking at the manufacturer's manual. The manual for the manufacturer is actually
Yes.
going to be providing you certain safeguards and systems that are written in a form that they actually provide for you. And if some people say, hey, I've lost the manual, I bought this a while back, you can still get those manuals through online with the wonderful world of the internet. You can get a lot of information from the manufacturer direct on old systems, and actually they can help you provide you those things. Now, please be careful if you modified that machine or you've done something like that, then you got to make sure, like Sam says, whoever did that, they better know that what the hazards are, the knowledge of that alternative that they've done to the machine. So you want to make sure that that is put in the procedures and it's followed to the letter.
How would you guys recommend locking landscape equipment such as lawnmowers and chainsaws?
Oh, man, we have had some experiences with Kalish requiring some people to lock out lawnmowers and chainsaws. This is it sucks, but the only thing that I can think of is pulling a spark plug.
That's it.
I don't know of another way.
Removing the blade, taking out that spark plug. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
You pull out the spark plug, the thing's not going to start. That's a great way to ensure that the thing can't start.
Well, it's also like an example, like for example, a forklift. How do you lock out a forklift? Hey, you take out the propane tank, right? You take the keys away, and you want to make sure that there's no way that they could start that machine. So here, sometimes there's no actually lock, but you can't put the spirit of what lockout tagout is within your system in some equipment that may not be a direct lock to fit it. So here, by taking away the energy source like a propane or electricity, it'll work.
And having said that, ensuring that you place the tag on the machine for why you have locked it out or pulled the spark plug, you would need to do to complete that process.
Please don't put me there, okay? Make sure you put your name on it.
Right.
And then another,
Absolutely.
to be more specific, can the tags be zip tied when tagging out equipment?
I don't see an issue with that. Ensuring that the tag is secured to the piece of equipment so that it's easily read. I don't see an issue with that.
As long as it has the information of the individual, the date, all the information within that tag, and it doesn't fly away, or that tag needs to be specific and very clear of who put that tag on there, and what are the dates and what's going on.
Are the training records and documents that GotSafety provides, can they be tailored to a specific facility?
That's a good question. So we can write lessons for almost anything, if that's the question. But we can write lessons for anything. We can, Javier, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, definitely. So our company, we are proud, and we really take pride in this, that we could write any lesson that is custom for certain processes that maybe you don't find in the lesson pool. And we offer that to all our clients. And this is something that I think it lifts a big headache off of your time and efforts to find out how to be able to do that. But you have to understand that we do it in a general form, and we make sure that we process it based on Cal OSHA or federal OSHA, but it's done in a general form. Now, if you're talking about specifics on a certain machine that is only made by, that you are the only one that has it, that we will probably not be able to do it. So in the spirit of the law, we will be able to go in and do it on a general basis, but not to the specific of that machine. And that's something that you're going to have to develop. But we can help you. We could guide you.
But I would say this: if you need a lesson on something, you should contact our office and tell us what you need, and let us try to help you. We have great staff, and we can write something for nearly everything. So just give us a call and or email us and let us know what you need, and we'll help you do it. We'll help you get it done.
We have very talented people that believe me, they do a wonderful job. Absolutely.
All right, I got one more question here. It's dealing with the annual inspections you guys were talking about. Can they be performed by someone in-house in management, or do they need the outside person?
No, they don't have to be done by an outside person. They should be done by an inside person,
Right.
By your management team.
Right.
So yeah, they don't have to be from the outside. They should be done from the inside, and somebody who's competent, responsible, and can make sure that the information in it is correct. That's what you're looking to do.
Absolutely. I concur.
That's what I've got, guys.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and you have a wonderful year. It's going to be a good year. I know it. I feel it in my bones.
It's going to be a great year. Thanks, Javier, for doing this with us.
Well, my pleasure.
You did a great job today. Haven, thank you very much for running the meeting, and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
GotSafety.com is the premier safety company for answers on OSHA compliance. For more information and training resources, click the subscribe button and receive notifications when we share new content. Thanks for watching.